Hey class, welcome to the research evaluation assignment tutorial. I know you're added on another assignment on top of the weekly objectives. I know this can be, a little bit like troublesome on what to do by just not just reading the directions. So I hope this tutorial helps clear things up. So there's going to be some basic information I'm going to also go over some requirements that you should already know that are not in the directions, and I'll go through an example in a second. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about as I go through this. One thing I like to say all the time and reiterate, you might be tired of me hearing this if you listen to my other tutorials, but watching tutorials does not replace the reading of the directions. So you're still required to read the directions and ask questions. Okay, this tutorial helps highlight some main parts of the directions. Okay, so just to start for the requirements, the first thing is follow directions. Okay, so make sure you are absolutely reading those directions a few times over and following what I'm showing you right here as well. Okay, it's very important. I can tell when someone follows the directions and the tutorials and those who do not. Pretty basic and simple. All right. Use the university library. I know sometimes I get some kind of feedback from students and some pushback on why I like Google better. Well, that's great, but you're not going to have accessibility. Okay, that's key. You're not going to be able to log in and gain access to research articles because you have to pay for them. So if you're just looking at an article and looking at the abstract, I don't know how you're getting the information. The university library has thousands and thousands of research articles that you cannot get on Google. The university pays thousands of dollars for it. Part of your tuition goes to that, to where you get accessibility. So why not use it? Okay, so if I can't verify the article, if I can't go to it and be like, okay, where do they get these results or methodology? And I see that there's no accessibility, there could be point deductions. Okay, so I have to be able to have access to the research article as well as you. All right, so, and I'll go over that in a second with an example as well. This should be a standard. So once in a while, I'll get a student that will find an article from 2004 or 1990 or 1972. A lot's changed since then. Imagine narcissism in 1970s versus today. They didn't have social media in 1995 either. It was barely starting to kind of come out with the internet. So social media was like not even thought of until 10, 12 years later. So if you're finding articles about narcissism or any of this information, even if it's about cognitive dissonance from longer than 5, 10 years ago, it's outdated. There is major deductions on this, could be up to a 0. Okay, so be very careful with that. When I talk to a lot of students, I'll ask them, what does your professors usually say? From what I've heard, usually professors at this institution at BYU Idaho say, don't go past 5 years. Okay, I give the range of 5 to 10 years for a little bit of leniency. And that's usually pretty much a standard universal, 5 to 10 years. So we're in 2021, so I shouldn't see a research article older than 2011. And I'll show you how to play with the years on the library. This is why you use the library. You'll see in a second. When you're answering each question, be very thorough. Some of these questions even ask why. And I'll just see a student answer with 1 sentence. That's a 0 for that question, because there's no way to academically answer a question in just 1 sentence or 2. You got to be thorough. If you're looking for a word count, I'm not going to give you one, but if you could write over 4 sentences explaining things, it's great. Some sections are going to require more than 4 sentences, like if you're going to talk about the methodology or who the participants are, okay? So make sure you're being thorough. Complete this as an assignment as a question answer method. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. You'll copy and paste the questions into an actual Word document, and you'll just answer each question there on there. Do not write it as an essay. I'll give a 0, make you redo it as a question answer. This is not an essay assignment. So this is not an essay flow. This is not a paragraph thing. where you're writing an APA, this is a question answer kind of worksheet. I wish we developed a worksheet to use and put in the classroom, but we don't, right? Not at the moment. Okay, so now let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about when it comes to following what I've been talking about. Okay, here's the front page of the library, library.byui.edu, the McKay Library. I know you're all familiar with it. We're in a 300 level class. This is one of the reasons why I say it's very essential to use the libraries. And I teach this at all my institutions I've ever taught at. As you see right here, it's very easy to kind of pinpoint that when you click on these things, what you're narrowing your search with. You want to find peer-reviewed articles, and you want to find articles that have independent, dependent variables, which means you're looking for experimental research articles. Okay, so you cannot use correlation. If you use correlation studies, that could lead up to a 0, okay, because you're looking for experimental. And I'll show you the directions in just a second, but let me show you why you use the library. So as I search for cognitive dissonance, I'm going to find a lot of information on cognitive dissonance as it comes up, as my internet slows up here a little bit. And you're going to see right here that there's 58,144 articles that I have access to. I would not have access to those on Google. You might be able to get basic information, but you won't be able to actually get to the article. Now here on the left-hand side, when you scroll down, you'll see that there's a date range, okay? So to help you out, maybe you should just go to 2016 to be safe on the 5-year mark. You can go back as to 2011, but I'm just going to do the last 5 years so that I can refine my search. And if you look at it, I still have 15,527 articles to choose from. Now, I'm not going to go through it and show you how to find an experimental article. I'll leave that up to you. But what I'm showing you is to why you use this. Okay, so you have to thumb through these things. You have to look through each of these to make sure you're finding one that fits. You'll actually see some information that looks like a PDF right here. So let's say I'm going to come to this one and the title looks like something I want to click on. And look, it's 2021 and it's an article that's within the range, obviously. And I can see that I have access either HTML or PDF, and I want PDF. But if it doesn't say PDF, that's okay. So I'll start with this one right here on this top one. And let's say I click on it to access the article. Now, some key information here is I have an abstract to read that kind of gives me what the article's about, gives me the location, but I know it's peer reviewed. Okay, so I know this is it right here. Now, one of the things students do when they go to websites, they'll cite the actual article in APA as a website when it's actually a research article. So if you do that, you'll get it wrong. But the safest way to find the reference is to click here on the site, and then you'll just come to APA, and this is it. You'll just copy and paste the APA reference right here. So it's already there for you in the library. You can copy and paste it onto the assignment because it's going to ask for the reference, okay? And if you want to have the link for it, you click on permalink. And as you see right here, you have the permalink, they'll pop up and you can copy and paste that on the worksheet too as well. Or you can save it onto another document if you don't want to lose your spot on where you're at. Okay, and then you can just click on either it says PDF or like where I clicked on to view it. And it gives me the article like if it's on a web page, but if I want to actually view the article, I can click on view PDF and there it is. Okay. This is, you won't get to a lot of these if you're just using Google. Okay. Some of them make you pay for it. All right. So you see the reasons why to use a library and why it's required. And then you come over here to the directions. You want to read through the directions as you know, as you can. You see the rubrics right here on what you're graded on. Now, it says here, you want to do not copy and paste extensively from the research evaluate, from the article to the document you're about to create. So there should be no copy and pasting. There should be no quoting. It should be all your answers typed in your own words, okay? And if you look at the directions, it says find an experimental peer-reviewed research article that examines concepts through chapters 1 through 3. Okay, so if cognitive dissonance is not in 1 through 3, don't use my example. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this information here, you're going to copy, and you're going to come to a new Word document, you're going to paste it, okay? And then you're going to type your answers down as they go. So you can organize this how you want. Like some students will come here and they'll do like maybe do a number thing. That's fine, whatever. I don't care about that. But you know, you want to type your answer here. You know, and sometimes students will want to, you know, color code it to show that they have their answer. That's fine. This would be the appropriate way of doing it, is answering each question as you go. Okay, so notice how it says describe and evaluate. So when it says describe and evaluate the purposes and hypothesis of the research, or if there's multiple hypotheses, you'll discuss those. Describing means you have to describe. So one sentence for describe, if you describe the art purpose in one sentence and then you give the hypothesis in the second sentence, that's not going to be sufficient. You have to describe, okay? So you'll see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like 10, still 10 like before. And you're gonna answer these questions as you go, okay? So it's gonna ask you about who the participants, what was the research setting. When you get to the independent and dependent variable, do not list them, okay? Don't say independent variable and then phrase it. Describe the independent variable. What is the independent variable? What is the dependent variable? If you just list it, it's going to be no credit, okay? Because it says identify and describe. You cannot describe by just putting a phrase, all right? So make sure you're doing that. So it's pretty basic and simple. The only thing that's really should only be a copy and paste is this one right here, where it's asking for the APA style reference, okay? You're going to apply the research article to your own experience. I don't want to violate your privacy. So if you want to tie it to something that not to you, but to maybe someone you know that had an experience, that's okay. Be thorough. So just make sure you're very thorough with each part of the assignment. I know this is a pretty lengthy tutorial, but a lot of students get confused and they ask tons of questions. And so I basically went over most of the questions and concerns students have had in the past. So if you have questions about this tutorial, please feel free to get with me before the end of the week, okay? Good luck to everybody.